been criticized for not making enough appearances in Western New York over the past year. What do you have to say about that?
Well, it's just not the case. I've done more than 20 events in Western New York over the last year and been to Buffalo many times. And I'm from upstate New York, so I fundamentally understand the challenges that this community faces in terms of creating jobs, in terms of growing good, healthy communities. So these are things I fundamentally understand. And I was just here last week, and I'll be here in March as well. So you'll see plenty of me. You'll probably get sick of me. But Buffalo is very important to me, as is Western New York. I even brought my children out here this summer for our family vacation. So I feel very strongly that Buffalo and upstate New York have a very strong voice in Washington, and they haven't had representation from upstate in a very, very long time.
But just to follow up on what Erica said, I guess maybe some of your visits have not been as high profile, like media gathered.
Correct.
And now that you have some challengers kind of lining up to challenge you, people are wondering, well, now she's becoming more visible because,
No, we've been here, just necessarily the media hasn't covered all our visits, but that's the media's choice. But I've been here, and I understand the needs of Western New York, and I'll keep coming here, whether the media follows me or not. So we didn't expect you all to be here today, I mean, to be honest.
Do you think the public, though, will take that as a perception that you haven't been here because they don't see
No, I don't think so. I think by the time Election Day comes around, everyone will know me. Everyone who wants to meet with me will have had the opportunity to meet with me. We always do public events. One of our last events here was a Senate at Your Supermarket, where we invite the public to come meet with me, express their concerns, and really get to know people on a grassroots basis. That's why Senate at Your Supermarket is so important, because I go to places where the community already is. They don't have to come to me to a forum or come to me out of their daily lives. I go to them, and what it really gives me is a very unvarnished, very complete view of what's troubling people. And every visit I've had here, the number one issue has been the economy. The number one issue is jobs. The number one issue is worries that every family faces about providing for their kids. And that's exactly the kind of work that the sister does here, because they're doing the kind of outreach to meet those needs of our community that are so vital right now.
Another Democratic senator, Senator Bayh, announced yesterday he's not running for re-election. What's going on? It's mid-year elections. Are these just, expected retirements? I mean, he's a fairly young senator. Is there concern in the Democratic Party? And there's, like I said, high-profile ones that are leaving, yet, and you could be in for a fight to retain your seat. I mean, is there a concern in the Democratic Party in Washington?
I feel a concern for our communities. I mean, the biggest concern is, and I think what's been replicated in the electorate, is we have difficult issues that are not yet being fully addressed. With unemployment as high as it is, with enormous despondency and worry and heartbreak all across our communities, people are looking for answers. They want leadership and they want solutions, and they are tired of the gridlock in Washington and the inability to really bring these solutions back home. And so I'm going to do everything I can do, and I have been doing everything I could do to bring those solutions here, to create the economic development models that are going to work for Buffalo, to create the jobs right here in this community, to address the fact that even not small things, but even things that go unnoticed, like charitable giving. Charitable giving is down this year than it's ever been. It's billions of dollars going less to charities that have gone traditionally. And even throughout the state, less volunteers. And so people are really struggling, so much so that they feel they can't give as much to others, so much so that they don't have as much free time to volunteer. And so when we're in a place like this where we have extraordinary kindnesses and altruism and gifts of themselves, we need to reach out to more people to say, yes, we know your times are tough, but everyone says, then please continue to help. So people want solutions, and I can't speak to any individual retirement and why people are making their own decision now to retire or not to retire, but I'm not. And what it signals to me is I'm going to work that much harder to make a difference for the families who live here and to bring solutions back to Buffalo and to all across Western New York. That's what I've been doing as a congresswoman. One thing I do a little differently is I focus on grants. Most offices have one grant writer. I have 30 in my office, because the one thing New York can do, because we don't get our fair share, is just apply for more federal money, because we have great need here and we have great programs. And so I think we can, in this competitive arena of competitive grants, I think our projects will be that much better. We've brought to this area over $40 million of grants this year alone. That's an enormous amount of money coming into the Buffalo region in 1 year, and that's including almost $10 million in appropriations, or not including $10 million of appropriations. So we've brought resources in the last year. We're going to continue to bring resources in, and those are the kind of investments that do create jobs and help protect the few jobs we do have. So we have a lot of work to do, and I think that these are very serious times.
Is it going to be tougher if some of these Democrats are gone? I guess maybe that's my question.
It may well be, but it may well be. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean we don't have to get the work done. And I think, if you look at the Massachusetts election, it was all about sending a message to say we want bipartisanship. We want people to come together. There's been gridlock in Washington. One whole party has said we will not participate in governing, literally, saying we will not work with you on these bills. We will not come to the table to negotiate these bills, and that has to stop. So I'm going to do everything I can to encourage bipartisanship. There's a number of senators in the Senate who are bipartisan, particularly Olympia Snowe and Susan Collins. These women are very focused on working with Democrats to govern, and so I'm going to continue to build bridges with them so that we can get things done. And that's what you need. You need a heart of service that's going to go and tackle this problem and fight even harder when the need is greater, and that's what I'm determined to do.
Senator, last time Ford was up here, we asked him about issues of him paying income taxes in New York State and that he had a Tennessee driver's license. Is this important for New Yorkers to know?
I think this issue of transparency. I do think that New Yorkers have a right to know whether he received a taxpayer-backed bonus and whether he's paid all appropriate taxes. It's just an issue of transparency, and I think New York voters do have a right to know.
How do you separate yourself from your potential opponent in being able to address the needs of Western New York?
Well, I'm from New York. I grew up in Albany, New York. I served in Congress representing an upstate New York district. I lived in New York City for 15 years. I've lived in New York my whole life. I understand New Yorkers. I understand our problems. I understand the differences in economic development models for upstate versus downstate. I understand the gifts and the resources that each part of this state have that bring to bear the kinds of ideas that will actually work. Western New York has a lot of potential. We're going to build the waterfront. That's going to be a project that can create jobs for decades. We are going to invest in our universities. Our universities are at the cutting edge of biosciences and biotechnology that will lead the nation. We are already at the forefront of energy. We've got Niagara Falls. We've been in the forefront of hydropower for 100 years. These are things we do well. We have great agricultural assets in upstate New York that can be part of new energy sources, whether it's cellulosic ethanol or biofuels. So we have great resources. We have a great workforce. We have a history in manufacturing. We know how to build things very well in upstate New York. So those are the kinds of things that we will continue to grow upon, and I understand those issues. So I look forward to the election, and I look forward to all New Yorkers getting to know me because I didn't represent all of New York yet. I was only a congresswoman from a small part of upstate New York. Now I represent the whole state, and so the whole state will get to know me over this year and over last year so that they know what kind of person I am. And the kind of senator I want to be is this. I want to be the voice for the voiceless. I want to be the person who represents Buffalo families who feel they have no say in the policies around them. And they will know that about me by Election Day, and I certainly welcome the challenge.
Hillary Clinton was not from here. Do you think she did a good job?
I think she did a great job because she had a heart of service. She is somebody who came here. She did a listening tour. She traveled all across this state. She spent a lot of time in upstate New York so she could learn the issues. She spent a lot of time with our farmers so she could learn the issues. She came to my part of the state and did economic development forums that I attended, and I watched what she did. She created solutions between upstate farmers and downstate restaurants. Farm to Fork, one of her greatest ideas about trying to bring economic growth to both parts of the state at the same time. So I think she did a wonderful job.
But you just said that what sets you apart, you believe, from Mr. Ford is that you are from New York your whole life. So
I understand the issues better, and I will also be able to run a very tough campaign on my record. His record does not reflect core New Yorker values. He's brought about an agenda of literally Bush economic trickle-down economics. We know that doesn't work. I'm focused on targeted tax cuts for middle-class families and small businesses. I have a record of fighting for women's rights, for equal rights, for civil liberties. He does not. He's actually voted against women's rights. He's voted against civil liberties and voted against gay rights. And so our records are as distinguishable as possible, because I've been on the side of core New York values, fighting for things that New Yorkers believe in, versus his very extreme conservative record of fighting for people in Tennessee.